When I was a little girl, I spent a lot of time at my great grandmother's kitchen table. And it was at this kitchen table where she planted seeds of hope for me, where she would give me a glimpse of my future, of my dream, really of the family and the life that I really wanted and didn't have in my childhood. I came, I guess, from what you would call a broken home. On my father's side, there were some heavy addiction issues, and on my mom's side, some emotional or mental illness. And my grandma's house was my safe haven, the place where I was wanted, the place where I felt loved, the place where I felt safe, and the place where I felt like I had a family. And so at this kitchen table, I got to see the future in a sense. And so I held on to that. And that was a piece of one of the biggest pieces of my driving force, what really got me through the traumas and the hardship of my childhood. And on the other hand, my mom, as much as she was struggling as a single mom, not having much money, not having much food, having to rely on government assistance, she gave me what I then believed was a hope of everlasting life. She taught me the Jehovah's Witness belief system. And at the time, it served me. It gave me this beautiful relationship with my Creator, with the divine. And I spent my entire life having a deep connection with Source, with God, with the universe, whatever you wish to call it. And that got me through a lot in life. It also probably protected me from a lot of situations and things that I could have gotten into that I chose not to because of that religious belief system. And so I would say those two things, my grandmother's hope and words of wisdom and her love, and my faith, were the two things that protected me and got me through. But fast forward, I'm 24 years old. I'm on my own. I moved out of my mom's house in my early 20s. I think I was 20 or 21 when I moved out. And I was, at the time, 24 years old. I had just gotten married to the man I was with for 5 years. We had a cute little apartment together. We had a dog. And we then had a baby. And everything should have been so perfect. But one morning, he decided that he was no longer happy and he was not going to be with me anymore. And so here I am, 24, with a 4-month-old infant, and my husband just left, and left, in fact, for another woman, and was not honest about it. And I found myself in a space where the only hope I could see, because that hope that my grandmother had given me was just kind of thrown to the side, I leaned on the other one, the faith. And I'll never forget the moment looking at my 4-month-old baby laying on my king-size bed and seeing this teeny tiny little body and thinking to myself, like, how am I going to survive this experience? And how am I going to make sure that my little girl never goes through the same pain that I went through? You see, I had promised myself that it would end with me, that I would make it right. And at that moment, I really felt like I had failed. And so what did I do? I picked up the phone and I called my old Bible study teacher, who I still love dearly. And I began studying the Bible once again with Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, mind you, I already had all of the basic belief system. I never believed any other religion. I was never taught any other religion. Although in high school, I did go to a born-again church with my high school boyfriend. And I'll share that on another video. But even then, through going to his church 3 times a week with him and his family, I still believed firmly that the Jehovah's Witnesses had it right, that was the truth, that they were the only religion, they were God's chosen people, and that everything they taught would happen. And so I decided I'm going to go full-fledged and be a Jehovah's Witness. And so I was faithful. I was strong in my faith. I soon began knocking on doors, and I was approved to be a non-baptized publisher. And I would preach anywhere I could. In my office, at work. I would preach standing at the line in ShopRite, in a doctor's office waiting room. I mean, wherever I could, I would preach, because I truly believed that God's kingdom would come on earth as it was in heaven. And I was legit, in other words. I wasn't like a lukewarm, just going through the motions kind of a witness. Like, I fully believed it with my entire heart. And I wanted to teach my daughter the truth, that this is the way. And so I soon then, not too long after, was approved to get baptized. And so I remember attending the annual convention, and it's been a little while now, so I apologize if I get the terminologies wrong a little bit, but I was so excited, I remember, to attend the international convention. That's what it is, the international convention at MetLife Stadium as a baptized witness. So I get to have a little name tag. Maybe I get to meet, a handsome brother that will be my future husband. This is what I'm thinking. And I get to go and hear this entire stadium singing praises to Jehovah. What a privilege, right? Fast forward a little later than that, and they being the Jehovah's Witness organization, they end up building this new world headquarters in Tuxedo, New York. And I'm meeting people from all over the world that are flying in from France, from everywhere, paying their own money to fly in to help on this new world headquarters project, to help build it, to give whatever they can offer, whether it's labor or some sort of expertise. People were coming from all over the world, and they would a lot of times cycle through my congregation because it wasn't far from there. And there were Bethelites as well in my congregation, many of them. And I got to become friends with many of them. And I'm just picturing a couple of them right now that I really loved. And it was really a great privilege to be able to meet such spiritual people and such loving people, and people who share the same vision, the same faith as I did. And I just felt like, wow, like this is really what happiness is. This is what joy is. This is what God intended for us. And unfortunately, that didn't last very long. After I got baptized, there were these kind of whole other new set of rules for me to conform to. And so at this time, I'm fully in. I'm so thankful, honestly, that Jehovah waited and didn't cause Armageddon to come before I was able to kind of get in, Noah's Ark's doors. Because I had, my whole life, I always thought, all right, the new system is going to come. Like, I'm not even going to make it to 16. Then when I turn 16, I'm not going to make it to 18. I'm not going to make it to 21. And now here I am. I'm at this time, like 25 years old. And it's still not here. And I'm like, wow, thank you, Jehovah, for waiting to let me in through the gate. And I was talking a certain way. I sounded just like them. I looked just like them. I was obsessed with, being as proper as I could be, because I now represented God's earthly organization. And I feel like I have to also mention that I found a friendship in this organization that was so much more. This woman was a sister, and I still consider her to be a sister to me. This is one person that, I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but I found this sister, this best friend, this person that I loved so deeply. And I realize now that the reason why this friendship meant so much to me is because I always kept people at a distance. You see, growing up with all of the beliefs, but not being baptized, not having a parent who was baptized, meant I was kind of on the outskirts. But I also believed so strongly that this was the truth and that God was going to destroy every non-Jehovah's Witness on earth. And so, although I had friends in school, I always kept them at a distance. I wasn't afraid to just cut someone off. I remember even in high school when people would start experimenting with drugs, I would just cut them off, never talk to them again, never look at them again. And I didn't feel remorse for that. I didn't feel really attached to them because I wouldn't let them fully in. But when it came to other witnesses, I did. I let them in because in my mind at the time, these are the people I'm going to spend eternity with. These are the people that are worth investing my time into. And this one particular friend really kind of held me under her wing and helped me get friends in the organization. And she made me feel like I had a family. Even though I had my own daughter at the time, I now had a sister in my mind. And I would have and still would do anything for this girl, for this woman. And so all of the freedom that I have right now on the outside, sometimes I tend to discredit the pain a little bit and say like, oh, well, at least I didn't lose my family, because many witnesses, most of them, in fact, when they leave the organization, they have a whole family that's still in it that is now shunning them, and they lose everybody. I lost this one person. And there were many other people that I was very close with, but this person in particular was my person, like I said, my sister. And it breaks my heart to not be able to be there for her through things that she's gone through since I've left, to not see her children grow up, and to not be like Aunt Jenna to them. But the pain that these organizations cause is real. And I've done so much work around this. I even help other people to heal from things like this. And yet, when it comes to other people and having to let go of other people, not because of your own choices or their own choices, but because of something bigger, because of something more important, you have to be separated. It's not okay. And I understand why people, create activism channels to expose these organizations, because they are dangerous. But I also see it in other areas of life. Like, I see these little cults in the media, in certain groups, certain communities. None of us are immune to it. And what I've learned over the years is that you have to understand the way that your mind works and the way that we're able to kind of go against all of our instincts in order to belong, or in order to do what's right, or in order to carry out this mission. We also have that wired into us. And no one is immune. I think more than anything, I beat myself up after leaving over feeling that I was mentally weak for ever having fell for such obvious lies. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter how strong-willed, how strong-minded, how smart, how emotionally intelligent you are. It comes down to you being in tune with your own inner voice. And if that is lacking, you will fall. You will cave. You will discredit yourself and your own inner voice. And it's easy to conform. And so my intention for this video is to tell you, number one, you're not alone. If you are a Jehovah's Witness, an ex-Jehovah's Witness, or someone who's gone through mind control of any form, I'm sure you can relate. It's you getting back in tune with you that makes all the difference. You're not alone. You are human, and you're allowed to have feelings and emotions, but you are not allowed to give those feelings and emotions to someone else to control, because that is when they control you. Whatever controls your emotions controls you. And when you get back in tune with your intuition, with your inner voice, you are the only master over that voice and over your emotions that voice creates.